I was watching the McKibbin's thing,
Mm.
and it's so interesting because like now I'm working on all these different things in indoor,
Yeah.
and you just like watching how the block would like. I feel like it would be
It would be a fun little
pretty easy.
puzzle to solve.
No, it'd be because it's two guys, two blockers on three guys, and you can play fast,
Right.
and all I have to do is like look for a second, and they're going to be
Right.
basically in the same spot that they
Right,
were
right,
because
right,
it's the
right. And it's
sand.
sand. It's yeah. It's not like they're
Exactly.
gone.
Like you can't
That
shuffle
is
out and
very
like
true.
fly out there.
That
So
is
like
very true.
I'm working a lot on like turning and looking to see where guys are at now. And sometimes they're in a total different spot than what I looked at in the beginning. But more often
Oh
than not,
yeah.
they're there. And like that's a challenge in and of itself. And I think it's paying off for me right now. And so like seeing that and like taking that indoor like mindset there, it seems like it'd be fun.
Dang. Okay, so like the smallest bit of like actual useful information for our listeners if they're still hanging in there. So you're working on what are some things you're working on right now? Like obviously one of the best setters in the world. Where do you find ways to get better? Where you're now focusing on
A
vision
lot of
across the
different
net
things to
or
get better. Yeah, I'm just like tinkering with different things. I think vision across the net I've been working on for like the past year and a half of like
what are
taking
some
a look at the
keys to
blocks.
that?
It's got to be for me right now. It's got to be a pass within the 3 meter line, the 10 foot line, and
Mhm.
like a high enough pass.
Mhm.
Because if it's
Your feet
anything
have to
fast,
be
there's
good.
yeah. Because you're gonna take
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
eye off of the ball for a split
Right.
second, and if you don't know where that ball's going, for sure you're gonna look real stupid.
Right.
So it's got to be high. It's got to be on your head. You're not moving too much. And then it's a look, and then it's a look and seeing like scouting whether a guy, some guys now are putting their hands to one side with some middle blockers, which means that they're loading to go this way. And so they can react back that way. And so they're like middle or back to the opposite.
Oh,
So like if
interesting.
I'm looking at that, or I'm just looking if there's, I can just call a gap and I'm
If
looking
they're
if they're
front.
stepping with it or not. And if they're not, it's
Right.
too fast. It's too fast for you to get there if you're
Right.
not stepping. And if you are stepping, the back, it's too fast for you to get all the way back. Unless you like in that little third of a second make that decision, the right decision. So
Are you looking when the ball's at its apex or when it's on the way down or when it's on the way like when the ball's coming to you, what's your timing like?
yeah, I think it's like I can't really pinpoint the exact time. I think it's like a certain time before it hits my hand. So like how do I make more sense of that? Like it's not it's not always at its apex, or it's not always like a ball could be passed to the rafters, and I'm waiting for it to get if there's zero point 0.5 seconds before it gets to my hands, or 1 second before it gets to my hands, maybe that's when I'm looking. And so I
Okay.
have that 1 second to then readjust and make sure that I'm good
Okay,
and
okay,
my
that makes
body's in the right
sense.
spot.
Cuz different situations it's not always going to be at the apex or it's not always going to be.
Exactly.
Okay, I
Exactly.
understand what you're saying.
So there's like
And
a
a lot of
timing.
it's right. And a lot of it is you're saying like the time that you're doing it, the footwork, and you're mostly looking at middles.
Yeah, mostly, but it can vary based on scouting report, like what I'm scouting on the game and
Nice.
what the strengths and weaknesses of like different blockers are. But it's not like an every play thing too, right? It's like 3 to 4 times a set, 5 times, 4 to 5 to 6 times a set, if I'm lucky,
Okay.
because how many perfect passes are you getting with the
Right,
perfect
right.
height, with also like having the confidence to do something that you're working on in a game.
Totally.
Um, so yeah, all of that stuff comes into the picture. But gosh, dude, I'm working on a lot of different things, and I don't think I'll ever stop doing that. I think that's kind of like what I'm addicted to
Right.
is, and I couldn't come to practice with like a joy and like having fun if I wasn't working on something because I'm not even here for it,
Right.
you know?
How do
So
you how do you balance like I feel like sometimes in certain gyms that I've been in, there's an emphasis on working on stuff, and then you like start losing this competitiveness and
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
like understanding of like, dude, just win. Like, stop being like, we need to work on this, or like you're getting
Yep.
analytical, and then, but you're also like, because winning is a skill. So if how do you balance like this like, oh, but I'm working on this, and like trying to rationalize like, but we're losing, and like you're not making good decisions, or like that kind of stuff
Yeah, well,
in a
if we're losing,
practice.
I'm not doing none of that. Like I'm trying to win. So like
Okay, priority.
my yeah, and I think like having a little self-awareness too. Like I've always been, I guess, let's say blessed, or like my nature is to compete and to win, and like to find ways to win and compete always. So I don't really have to focus on it so much. Like it doesn't take a whole lot of my mental capacity because it's just a natural thing for me. So more of my mental capacity is occupied by how am I getting better? What things am I getting better at? But if I'm not taking care of the competitive side, um, we're playing and we're trying to
Right,
win. And
right, right,
so
right, right.
it's always a balance, and it's always like, what parts of practice are designed to be competitive and what parts of practice are designed to be um, tinkering times, or times to
Totally.
work. And if I feel like I don't get enough of that tinker time, then right now I'm setting 10 to 15 minutes before training every day, like while the other guys are warming up. Like I'll come and warm up a little earlier and I'll just set. And
Right.
so that also fills my cup a little bit with the tinkering time,
Yeah,
to
yeah, the time that you
therefore
need.
then therefore be free to let's go. And like
Totally.
I don't care how I get it done, but I'm gonna get it done.
Totally.